It's from Britpart, and it utilises some sort of rectangular shaped LEDs. Now, I've fitted these before on vehicles. I do like the way they look, but I also remember these being a little bit tricky to fit and get them to look perfect, but we're going to have a go now. One thing to mention on this particular bumper from Britpart is it's not fully welded externally and internally. So internally, where they've actually bent the material to make the shape of the bumper, it is fully welded in there, so no moisture can get through. But it's not actually, you can just see there, it's not actually welded on the exterior. So if you're going to leave these exposed, it's possibly not the bumper for you, only because you've got that and you've got those holes in there. And it's designed basically to have the rubber, the TD5 rubber end caps on, which we've got and we'll be possibly reusing depending on what we go for. So if you're going to opt for this bumper, you're going to have to invest or reuse your existing TD5 rubber bumperette end pieces, and then that will look nice and factory. So this is one that I fitted earlier. I love saying that, but the reason I'm saying that is because I'm now going to show you how it all looks assembled correctly for when you do it. But if you want to watch the whole way of fitting this, it's coming up next, or you can skip to the next chapter. What we've got in the kit is you've got your two LEDs. We're just going to focus on one of those for now on this end. We have a mounting plate, various nuts and bolts. We've got some instructions, which is nice. We've got some adhesive pads here, which I think is used to just sit them slightly higher up, if I remember rightly, so they sit flush. There's no actual fitting instructions in here for the lights themselves. You only get a wiring diagram. So it is up to our ingenuity to get these fitted, and that's another reason why it's a great idea to do this video, I think, because I've struggled with these before, and it'd be great just to be able to give you a full fitting guide to get them fitted nice and correctly. Out of the box, you'll notice when you look, it actually says top here, and the bracket is sitting at the top, so that's obviously designed out of the box to be sort of hung from the top, and that's not right for us. So we have to spin, the first thing we need to do is spin this bracket and drop it down. Now it does have to be on its lowest setting initially, if I remember correctly, so we'll just then do these up. Let's reduce the torque on that. Right, so I'm going to peel that off there. I'll put it in place first. There we go. Now, thinking about it, it's probably not a good idea to take the cover off this side, because I want to be able to move this when it's in place, and if I stick it on there, I'm not going to be able to adjust the reach. So we're going to leave the pad on one side of this, so we're not going to actually use it to securely attach it. We're just going to do it basically so. We're going to use this Loctite chapstick just to put a little bit of thread lock on these, just to be doubly sure. So we've got top on the bulb here, and we've got our bracket in place. We're then going to slide that there and then get that fixed first. So you've got left and right adjustment on the actual bumper itself, and then you've got fore and aft adjustment on the bracket, and that's how you get it in the position you want. You'll see, or you should be able to see, that the middle of the lens here is just protruding from this aperture, and then either side is still. Can you see that? So to do this job, you can use the provided Allen key. I'm actually going to use my Teng Tools mini ratchet. Now this is a really cool tool. Now the code on it is 1400B. It's a really nice little product from Teng. It's like a mini ratchet driver. It's got an 8mm on the end, and then you can just put your sockets in there. And the reason that's handy is because you can get that into really difficult to get to places where you can't get the extension all the way out. And I'll show you how that works on this one. So I can just pop this in here. Using the open end, I'm going to just pop it in there and do this up. And same on this one. Okay, so we've got, that's all in place. Everything's tightened up. Let's see what it looks like from the front. And yep, that is nice and central. So if you're going to skip through the whole assembly process of this lamp, here's what you need to remember. You've got this adhesive gasket between this bracket and the lamp. only remove the 3M printed adhesive protector and only stick the pad onto the actual LED bracket itself, because you want to be able to move this lower bracket and you can't if you stick it down on both sides. You need to make sure that you rotate out of the box this bracket here at the back on the actual LED itself. You need to flip it, because that needs to be at the bottom with top written on the lens. So going into the actual bumper itself, you've got top on the lens, and the bracket should sit at the base with the open slots going towards the front of the lens. Keep everything a little bit loose so that you can mount it on, and then you're good to go. So this is the one that I did earlier, and what I don't like about what I've done is actually these nuts are protruding, look, and they're pretty ugly. So I'm gonna fit the next one with the button heads at the bottom of the actual bumper. I think that'll look a lot better, and we'll do both sides the same, and I'll show you what I mean. Don't forget to use your thread lock. Some washers wouldn't be a bad idea, I don't think, on the bottom of this bumper. I think that might be a nice touch. So maybe get some stainless washers, because you're already removing some of the paint. That's going to be the first place that's going to rot, and then over a few years the corrosion is going to get into this metal here, and this is just going to go loose and wobbly. So if you could get a washer on there, that would definitely be something I'd recommend. It doesn't come in the set, but just fit a couple of stainless washers underneath these bolts. You've got plenty of thread, so there's no harm in doing that. But there we go. So we've got everything set up. They're looking good. That gives you a good idea of how they're actually set in the bumper itself. And if I spin it round, you'll see how they sit in the bumper. So it's not a bad looking bit of kit, really. It's nice and subtle. It's quite a classic look, and I think with those bumperettes on the end, it looks really nice. That's basically it, but just be careful, as I said before. You can see we've got some scratches already on this bumper, and that's from me working on a wooden worktop. So there's obviously bits of swarf and grit in there, and you don't want that on your bumper, especially when you're fitting a brand new bumper. You want it to be perfect, so perhaps do it on a bit of carpet in your lounge.